Welcome back everyone to BS Spooktober. I'm Steven.
I'm Brittany.
And we are the BS Review, and we are finally here, guys. If you have been watching the channel at all, we have been uploading videos every day, and a large chunk of those have been reviews of every single Halloween movie in the franchise. We just reviewed the newest one yesterday, and so we are here with our ranking now that we have watched and reviewed every single one of, in our opinion, what are the worst and the best of the series.
Keep in mind these are our personal opinions. Feel free to disagree with us in the comments nicely. And leave us your own list of what you think are the best and worst of the franchise if you have seen them. We're not going to put any spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen these, don't worry. We're not going to be giving away any plot details besides some like synopsis, which may or may not slightly spoil previous ones, but nothing like major. So there are 11 movies in this franchise as of now with the new release. So we are going to start with number 11 and work our way towards number 1. And our number 11 choice, if you have watched our reviews, will come as no surprise. And it is Halloween 2 from 2009, this Rob Zombie remake.
Guys.
It's so bad.
This one's just really bad. You can see our review for more thoughts, but it was probably the biggest struggle for us to watch. And
I regret every minute of it.
Yeah, we didn't find a whole lot of redeeming value in that one.
Besides the mask. The mask is cool, but it carries over from the first one, so the second one didn't originate it.
And coming in at number 10 on our list is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Now, this one, apparently some people consider to be one of the better entries in the series. And they're so wrong. This movie is just so bad, almost incoherent from a narrative perspective, and it's just a messy disaster and boring.
And obviously it's the most out of place in the franchise because it's not a Michael Myers-centered story, which maybe that's why some people really enjoyed it, because they liked the potential for the anthology series. That was the original idea starting with this movie, but we personally did not enjoy it. Number 9 on our list is Halloween Resurrection, which is number 8 in the franchise list. And this one, Tyra Banks is in it, Busta Rhymes is in it, and there's like a whole like reality show thing in the Michael Myers house, and it's just utter early 2000s teen horror trash.
Yeah, this one was even hard just to hate watch through it because it felt like Disney original movie channel quality version of Halloween.
I did enjoy some of the scenes, but because they were comical, not because they were scary. Like, I found this movie, which it is marketed as a horror comedy. They were trying to go in the Scream direction, and it is funny in that aspect, but I don't like it in the context of the Halloween franchise.
Coming in at number 8 is Halloween. There are a lot of movies just called Halloween in this series, but this is referring to the Rob Zombie remake and the first one, and this one was also bad, guys.
Slightly more redeemable than number 2, obviously, based on our ranking list, but still not one we enjoyed.
Yeah, this one lands where it does on this list because it spends far too much time revealing things that you never needed to know about, particularly Michael Myers, and just feeling very bogged down. And it's also really long, which results in it feeling long-winded.
Coming in at number 7 on our list is Halloween 5. This is obviously number 5 in the franchise series. And this one, I feel like the problem with this one is number 4. It's a direct sequel to number 4. And number 4 introduced some really interesting potential concepts at the very end of the movie. And they just completely forgot about them in this one. And it was annoying. And they had like really annoying side characters in this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel they just ignored all the good ideas that they had from the earlier one and instead went for, it felt like, cheap thrills.
Yes.
And it failed for us. Coming in at number 6 is Halloween 6. I believe this one is subtitled The Curse of Michael Myers, and this features Paul Rudd, and that is why it makes it so far down this list, because Paul Rudd makes this movie fun to watch. And I think that while it still suffers from a lot of the major problems of the Halloween series, of not following through on ideas and being quite confusing sometimes, at least this one was fun to watch because Paul Rudd's charisma and goofiness.
It also had some fun elements to it. We have a cult thing going on, and also some of the kills were pretty good in my opinion. I really enjoyed them. Coming in at number 5 is Halloween 2. This is the original direct sequel to the original. And this one also stars Jamie Lee Curtis. It picks up literally seconds after, well, we'll get to that. Seconds after the first one ends, and it's like mainly set in a hospital, which makes for a fun setting. But this one uses so much footage from the end of the first one. Like, we watched them back to back, and so like we just had to rewatch what we had just watched. It was annoying.
It was baffling, honestly, because you sit there and you're watching the first 15 minutes of the film, and they're just the last 15 minutes of the film.
With a couple tweaks, because they had to make some clarifications from the end of the first one in order to have certain people in the second one.
So while this one was enjoyable, we cannot overlook the 15 minutes of the 90-minute movie being from the previous film.
Although one of the good things about this film is that they did have a bigger budget, which was very evident in the first few minutes. Like, it started on such a high note, and there was some big budget scenes for that time period, and like some drastic kills. It was pretty cool.
And at number 4, we have Halloween 4. Funny how that's happened a couple times on this list. Now, this is the first appearance of Jamie, Laurie's daughter, that she gave up when she disappeared. And this one's pretty good. I think it's willing to take the franchise in a couple new directions, especially with a couple fun twists in there, which is why it made it so high on our list. It still has some of the problems of the original Halloweens and that whole franchise run, but at least there's some fun elements, and you can tell they're trying to do something new with it.
And we are now honing in on our top 3. So our number 3 pick is the newest Halloween 2018. We overall really enjoyed this one. However, there are a couple in the series that we rank a bit higher than this one due to some consistent narrative issues and just falling a little short of our expectations.
Yeah, there's just a couple things in there that held it back from being our most enjoyable. And it felt like the more we talked about it afterwards, the more like nitpicks and problems started to appear. It's like, oh, you're right, that wouldn't have made sense, or why did the movie decide to do that? And so I think originally, right after leaving the movie, the hype, I was like, oh, where is it going to be on our list? And over time, it's like moved down. And right above that at number 2, we actually have H2O, which is the 20th anniversary. It's also Halloween 7, and we actually just enjoyed this a little bit more than the newest one. I think it does a good job of being true to the series. You get Jamie Lee Curtis back in the fold for the first time since the first 2 films, and it's honestly very similar to the newest film in that you go forward years later, she's waiting for him to return, and she's scarred by her previous time and trying to move on. Just a fun watch, guys.
This was actually the first movie in the franchise that I ever saw. We watched it a few years ago before seeing the original. And on a rewatch during this last bout of us watching all the movies, I really enjoy this. I think it still holds up. It's not perfect, but it's fun. And it has some of my favorite, like Michael Myers creeping in the background kind of things. It returns to number 1 quite heavily with that, and I really enjoy it. And of course, our number 1 pick, if you've been paying attention, is going to be the original Halloween. I think that this is such a classic for such a good reason. It has some amazing aspects to it. Michael Myers as a villain is introduced so well, and the build-up is done really well and suspensefully, and some of his like over-the-top flared kills are just delightful.
I think that this is the film that Michael Myers had the most like personal direction. You understood his motives and his malice and his creepiness, and you really got to watch Laurie struggle against that, or her friends struggle against that. And it's just a classic. It's fun to watch. None of the others really could recapture that same flair that I think the original had.
I think they borrow and replicate bits and pieces of it, but overall, I don't think they ever do it well again.
So now that we have made it through every single one, and you know our ranking and our list, I think that, wow, I actually was very surprised at how much of a struggle it was to get through some of these. The overall quality throughout these films is just so drastically different that sometimes you get like straight garbage quality parts of movies.
Well, here's the thing. All franchises, especially ones that are this long, are going to have their ups and downs. But I think this one has the most inconsistency that I've ever seen in a franchise with tone, with consistency, with continuity. Like, all of those things are just a freaking mess throughout the entire series, even with, you know, considering reboots and new sequels and things like that. But even if you just consider like 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which are all technically, I think, in the same timeline, it just all doesn't blend well together, and it doesn't make for a good, like, marathon experience. I enjoy movie franchises, especially series, to like, oh, I can watch these back to back and they tell a cohesive story and they're really interesting and they're well thought out. And to be fair, there's not a lot that do that very well, but it's just kind of disappointing that this one that's so iconic doesn't have that.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised as we got further and further into it how little they tied into each other, or the continuity of the character of Michael Myers, even though he continues going back to Haddonfield, Illinois to kill people and to kill Strodes. It's almost fascinating how little they carry between each other for how much heavily they borrow from each other. So, while I think it was worth it, I'm glad we watched them all.
Except for the last couple.
I'm still glad we watched them, so at least we've said we have fully experienced the Halloween franchise despite its issues. I definitely think there are some gems in there and some really fun Halloween watches, and I know for us we'll definitely be rewatching the first one consistently, probably H2O as well, and maybe the newest one. Maybe here and there. We'll probably at least give it a rewatch to see how they feel later on. But past that,
once again, please let us know down below your personal ranking of these movies, or if you haven't seen all of them, your ranking of the ones you've seen. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. We've really enjoyed reviewing all of these and chatting with you guys about the series. If you want to check out any of our reviews for any of the movies in the series, I will leave them all linked down in the description so you can check them all out. And subscribe if you like us. Again, we have more movies coming this month, every single day. There will be another new one tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, and so on and so forth until November. So subscribe if you want to check those out, and we will see you guys in our next video. Bye!